Bridget, can you please do a roll call? You're kind of out of use of not doing this by Zoom, huh?
Hello? Okay. I got it. Vice Chair Patrick McTeague. Eugenia Ellis.
Here.
Howard Elfman.
Here.
Douglas Reynolds.
Here.
Blaise McGinley.
Here.
Chadwick Maxey. Alternate Chip Falkinger. Alternate Shelley Eichner. Alternate Mike Lambrechts.
Here.
And Chair Howard Nelson.
Here. And do we need an alternate for service tonight?
Yes, Mr. Maxey is not here at the moment.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Maxey's not here.
Great. Shelley, would you be willing to? No, Mike, you're there. All right. Good to go. Boy, with Chadwick gone, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? There we go.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Board, in your package, you should have a copy of the minutes from our last month's meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Bridget, did you catch those?
This one. Patrick.
Any comments, questions, changes, modifications, deletions, additions, alignments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bridget, please show unanimous approval. Each member of the public that wishes to speak after each item is presented and discussed by the board will have 3 minutes per item. Representatives of associations and groups will have 5 minutes. And if we can, Bridget, if you can do a joint swearing in for all applicants tonight, and then we'll start with our first agenda item.
Disclosure.
If anybody's going to speak, could you please stand and raise your right hand? Even if you think you might speak, we'll get this out of the way now. Do you swear? Yes, sir. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, thank you, everybody.
Very good. Let's call our first case. Mr. Shine, are you ready if we call that case? That would be case number PLN Board of Adjustment 210-50001. And let me start by
Mr. Reynolds, none.
Mr. McTeague, none.
Gene Ellis, site.
Blaise McGinley spoke with counsel.
Mr. Elfman.
Howard Elfman received a call but did not answer from counsel.
Michael Lambrechts, none.
I spoke briefly with Mr. Shine, but I want to make an additional disclosure, having discussed this with the city attorney. This is an application by a Reformed synagogue in the northeast corner of Fort Lauderdale called Temple Bat Yam. My family and I have been a member of that synagogue for, I've got to do the math, over 25 years. I'm a former board member of that. I am no longer a board member. I do not have a fiduciary obligation, and therefore I am not even prohibited from recusing myself, not allowed to recuse myself, and I believe I can honestly hear the matter. So I'll move forward unless there's some objection from another member of this board. In that case, Mr. Shine, the floor as it is yours.
Mr. Shine, could you turn your mic on, please?
And staff, we can't see the screens in front of us. You want to just yell the president? We could just have you yell the presentation if you want.
Can't see it.
What?
Can't see it.
We can't, right. And again, staff, The board cannot see the presentation on their screens. Nope.
None of these. There it comes.
Oh, there we go. Did you actually say let there be light?
Testing. This works. All right. I'm in stereo mode today. Good evening, Chair, members of the Board of Adjustment. Andrew Shine with Lockery and Chakas here representing the property owner. This variance is for Temple Bat Yam of East Fort Lauderdale, located at 5151 Northeast 14th Terrace. Here is an aerial of the property. Oh, we're back to technical difficulties on the.
We saw it, there you go.
It's not showing the rest of it. Let me try closing this out and putting it on again. Excuse the technical difficulties.
And if you could possibly raise the output on his mic a little bit. It may just be that I'm deaf in my old age, but holding a handheld. Got it.
Yes, my apologies. All right, it's working now. This is Temple Bat Yam. This is an aerial of the property. I've highlighted a couple areas here. You can see the main structure where there's the temple and synagogue, and there's also a daycare in there for children. In the top left, it'll become important is a playground area. And at the bottom right, you can see a very nice open space grassy area, which is the future location of the Rabbi Louis Littman Memorial Garden. We're here tonight because we are seeking a variance for a fence. This is the approximate location of the fence. As stated in the narrative, it's not unknown to anybody, but temples and synagogues around the country are experiencing violence, vandalism, things like that. And this temple received a grant from the Department of Homeland Security to install a fence around the property. The overall grant was $100,000 for security purposes. Not all of that went to a fence, but a fence was a large part of what this grant was for. On the east, south, and north side, the fence is proposed to meet the required setbacks. It's 0 feet on the north, 3 feet on the east, and 3 feet on the south, with landscaping in between, and we're planning on meeting the setbacks on those sides. The issue is on the west side where the parking lot is. The parking lot is already at a 0 foot setback from the property line. You cannot install a fence at a 3 foot setback with landscaping without shifting all the parking, and we did explore some options, which I'll get into. Option one is this playground area. Most of the variance justification was based on the parking lot. We did explore this playground area. It currently has a 0 foot setback chain link fence, and all we're planning on doing is replacing that with a nicer aluminum post fence. We explored whether we can push that 3 feet in, and we determined that that wasn't very feasible. There are certain Florida laws and requirements for daycares that require a certain amount of open space and playground area per child. It's 45 square feet per child. And if we were to shift this any further into the property, we would be running up against that requirement that would put us out of the requirements for having a daycare there. So we weren't able to shift it there. I don't know if that's as big of an ask as the rest. This is just replacing an old fence here, so it's already a non-conforming fence. We did explore options of moving the entire parking area as well. It does seem like a lot to do for a 3 foot fence variance, but we did look into it. The issue with moving the entire parking area 3 feet east to allow for a fence and landscaping is how the parking area is designed right now. The parking area is currently legally non-conforming. This property has been here for the better part of last decade, as well as all of this decade. And it was built before the current rendition of the city's zoning code. So it's not conforming in all aspects, but it is legally non-conforming. It's allowed to exist in its current state right now. And right now, the width of that parking aisle is about 95 feet for including 4 parking stall aisles, 2 drive aisles in between them, and landscaping in the middle. So we explored shifting this east, but if we were to shift this east, we would have to provide a 119 10.5-foot parking area width. On the bottom right, you can see what this area is comprised of. And that goes, as you can see where that red line ends, this is approximate, but that red line ends, it's going into the building. So there's no reasonable way to shift the parking area east in order to provide this 3-foot setback. We also, this one was interesting, but we explored shifting the entire streetscape west to allow for an additional 3 feet fence setback. And that's not possible. This right-of-way is already at the minimum. The travel lanes are already at the minimum, so we can't shift it west. So we did explore other options, and the only thing we can come up with on how to get this fence approved, which is very necessary for safety purposes for this synagogue, is to seek a variance for it. So that's why we're here tonight, is to seek a variance. The specific request is for only on the west side, but it is a 0-foot setback for the fence and no landscaping in between the fence and the property line because it would be at a 0-foot setback.
Thank you, Mr. Shine. Does that complete your presentation?
Yes, and I'm available for any
Would you like
questions
to,
as well.
right, would you like to reserve some time for rebuttal if indeed there are other speakers?
Absolutely, that would be
Not that
appreciated.
I think there are, but if indeed there are. Let me open it up for public hearings, and then I'm actually going to have a couple questions for staff. But anybody from the public wish to speak on this application? If not, let me close public hearing and open it up to board questions or comments.
Did you want to start?
What?
I got a feeling you'll probably cover
Go ahead.
everything.
No, go ahead.
I had a quick question for council. Where are you at currently with the required parking versus provided?
So right now, we are close. There are 70 parking spaces right now, and there are 56 required just for the temple. That doesn't take into account if zoning wants to put parking requirements for the daycare aspect of it as well. This is non-conforming though, but right now, just for the temple itself, it's 1 per 4 seats. They have a maximum occupancy of 217 right now, which would put it at 56 spaces and 70 are provided.
So the facility utilizes the parking that's on the west side of Northeast 14th Way?
Of Northeast 14th Terrace, yes.
A terrace?
Yes.
Okay.
And to add to that, there will be some parking spaces will be going away. About 5 will be going away. I can show you here. If you look on the bottom left-hand corner, there's going to be access gates in that area. So we will be losing around 5 parking spaces as it's currently drawn, which would put it at 65 provided.
Any more questions? And there's a question for staff, Mr. Malik. I know, knowing you, that you've looked at the history of this property, and I know it was a synagogue since the early 80s, and that before that it was, I believe, the Moravian Orthodox Church. But have you looked at the configuration of the parking lot to say, or to be able to opine as to how long this structure and this parking lot with the zeros have been in place? Because by my count, it's the mid-60s.
Chair, yes. Sometimes I say, when applicant comes to, this is a common sense example says they cannot move the fence to me, but as I said, my hands are tied. I told even the applicant when they came to me, this is complete common sense to me, says you cannot move the fence back. There is no way, because you will lose so much parking. But I don't have the authority to just waive, because I can't use common sense sometimes, and that's why the board is there. This is a perfect example.
And Mr. Shine, one question for you, because I know you mentioned security concerns in general. Are you aware of any specific security concerns from this synagogue as to whether or not they may have had to hire armed guards for school pickup and drop off?
Yeah,
Threats.
yes, they have hired an armed guard for this synagogue, as have many synagogues, not just in South Florida, but around the country. It's unfortunately becoming a bit more common these days to do that.
I've got no more questions. Anybody else on the board? Mr. Shine, do you need rebuttal or a closing?
No, at this point.
In that case, I'll wait for a motion.
Motion to approve. Item number, I just moved it. Sorry. PLN-BOA 2105001,
Because it
As-
meets the requirements for variance under our code.
because it meets the variance under our code.
I've got a motion and a second. Any board discussion? Bridget, will you please call the roll?
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
All right. Should we go to item 2? I got to get it into the focal range of my glasses. Item number 2, BLN Board of Adjustment 210-50002, Mr. Crush. Before you start, do any disclosures?
Mr. Reynolds, none.
Phone call from council.
And none for myself.
Spoke to council site visit.
Blaise McGinley spoke with council.
Spoke with council and site visit.
Spoke with council.
Mr. Crush, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jason Crush with Crush Law on behalf of the applicant. We're here today to talk about 2780 East Oakland Park Boulevard. We are specifically seeking a special exception to Section 5-26. As you all know, it requires a 300-foot distance separation from another application that sells alcoholic beverages.
Jason, can you move?
You can't hear me? Okay. Got it
No.
now?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it was so good
27
before.
You want me to start over? 2780, as you may be familiar with, many of you live in the area, is at Bayview and Oakland. It is the southwest corner, directly south of the Rainbow Palace, catty corner to the CVS, and to the west of the Remax on the corner there. It is currently under renovation. It used to be a law firm. They're renovating it into retail spaces, and Ocean Wine and Spirits is taking the easternmost portion of that building and wants to put in an Ocean Wine and Spirits liquor store. We have not taken possession and built out the space yet, but Mr. Lawani, who owns Ocean Wine and Spirits, has several other locations, 3 on Fort Lauderdale Beach and 1 in Wilton Manors, and he does a first-class job and carries a more high-end product than a lot of the other locations. He actually does barrel selections and brings those in, and this is something that the Coral Ridge neighborhood really wants because it's not something that they can get in the area. They have to travel down to Rio Vista and the Primos area to get some of the higher end product that they're looking for. As a matter of fact, Mr. Lawani wanted to be here tonight for this, but he is currently in Kentucky doing a barrel selection for Four Roses single barrel and for Elijah Craig barrel proof, which
killing
will
it.
have Ocean Wine and Spirits on them when he comes home. We invite you all, if this should pass and open, to come by and purchase a bottle. As we said, the special exception requires a 300-foot distance separation. Now, we fail that distance separation by 7 feet because the closest establishment that has a qualifying liquor license is the Rainbow Palace that is directly north of us across Oakland Park. And from a front door to front door, walking, safest pedestrian path, walking distance, it's 293 feet. So we're seeking a 7-foot variance. As you can see on the map here, Rainbow Palace's front door is just about in the middle of the building to the north, and our front door is on the eastern portion of that, and it is 7 feet shy of the 300-foot distance separation. As you know, the Board of Adjustment is authorized to grant these special exceptions if it meets the criteria set forth in 5-26B, and those 2 criteria are not be contrary to the public interest and not be incompatible with adjoining properties and or the surrounding neighborhood. So while we think, as the applicant and the applicant's representative, we think that this is aligned with the public interest, we may be a little biased, so we went to the Coral Ridge Association and presented the application to them and asked them for their opinion. They unanimously voted to support the application just for the reasons I mentioned before, is they want a higher end liquor store in the neighborhood. We also went to the Rainbow Palace and to Mr. Lee and asked him. He said he's in full support since we do fail to him. We went to the building owner that owns the Rainbow Palace building, and they submitted a letter as well, which Shaquilla should have forwarded to you. Now, are we compatible with the surrounding properties? I think that we are, and if you look on your screen, you can see that all the green boxes are other establishments that serve alcoholic beverages along this commercial corridor of Oakland Park and Bayview. So we think it's well suited in this area. We don't think that selling of alcoholic beverages for sale for consumption at home is contrary to any of the public interests or incompatible with the neighborhood. I've missed a few on here because there is changes in the tenant mix there, and they come in and out periodically. We believe that approval of the proposed special exception is not contrary to the public interest. It's not incompatible with surrounding neighborhood. There are many commercial uses that sell alcoholic beverages, not only bars and restaurants, but also establishments that sell to-go liquor. The Courage Association and Rainbow Palace are in full support, and there is a need for an establishment of this caliber in the neighborhood. And if approved, Mr. Luani has promised me a bottle of Jack Daniel's 1904 Gold Medal. So with that, I respectfully
Got
ask
your own
you to
enlightened
approve the
self-interest at
application.
stake.
And
I hear you.
And I'd like to reserve any time should there be any rebuttal.
Very good. Does that conclude your presentation?
It does, thank you.
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this? Gentlemen, have you been sworn in? Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Max Sebastiani, 2768 East Oakland Park Boulevard. I'm the property owner immediately next door. And this notice came out, and it's a little bit misleading because we are 7 feet away. There's a Cafe Seville that sells alcoholic beverages. So I'm a little confused how this gentleman gets that it's 293 feet away when there's a restaurant
I want to
with a
make
full
sure you're
liquor.
on the right application because the next application.
Mr. Chair, yes, the Cafe Seville does have a 4COP SFS license, which is a special food service license only for restaurants, which does not count towards the city's liquor measurement.
Okay. And I checked the posting and the signs behind a pillar, the posting that they're supposed to have. My question is, what's going to stop them tomorrow from opening up a liquor store with a pub or lounge like, you know, Flanagan's? They have a liquor store and a lounge right next door. So I'm a little confused. I had called Bridget at a business tax license, and she mentioned that she was going to have someone go back out and measure. So that's what I have to say.
Okay, and I take it from your comments you're opposed to the variance?
I'm completely opposed to it, yes.
Got it. Okay. Or to the special exception, rather. Anybody else from the public?
Can,
Owner 2769, 2769.
Sir, please take the microphone up.
Oh, I'm the owner 2769, 2775 East Auckland. Okay? Huh?
A little bit closer.
Closer like this? Yeah, I know, I'm not in the entertainment business, real estate business. I'm getting there though. Okay, so we have.
I'm sorry,
CVS.
sir. May I ask you to state your name for the record?
First
please?
name Raphael, last name Sopher.
Thank you.
Okay, so we got, like he said, the gentleman said, we got a lot of liquor establishments there. Across the street from him, there's CVS. They sell everything you can imagine. They don't send Jack Daniels, who cares? They can order it online today. Can click the button and it. We got also what's called tremendous homeless problem in that area. And alcohol brings those losers, excuse me. And the city is overwhelmed. Police officers overwhelmed. These people come, they're going to crush next to his property. Police is going to come. They're going to go to my property. They're going to go to Mr. Max's property and cause a problem there. Because police officers come, there's so much they can do. You know, because they, what can I do? He has civil rights, he had this right, that right, he's on the sidewalk, he's in the sidewalk.
And,
you know,
and I'm
we
sorry,
just
sir,
have-
which property is your property?
My property is directly across the street from his.
On the other side of Oakland or the other side of Bay?
Directly, right next to, I'm the Del Contadino. I'm right next to the Rainbow Palace. I'm adjacent to the Rainbow Palace. Adjacent to that, Mr. Lee.
Got it.
Mr. Lee is my neighbor. I know him very well. We have what's called packing issue. Now you raise the packing, you killed us. You know, what do you want to collect $2 an hour and you're killing us, our businesses already. So I would suggest that you consider, first of all, removing this. What do we need $2 an hour where, you know, we don't have municipal parking lot. If you have on,
I wish this board had the power to look at that issue.
well, you know, you're killing businesses because if you keep raising the, people don't want to pay $2. They say, hey, you know what, I go to
Sir,
Gallery Mall.
I understand your issue, but this is for a variance for.
Correct.
or
So
a special
what it's
exception
going to
for
create
liquor.
is going to create additional demand for packing. People will stop. People they're going to drink outside. They're going to cause nuisance. I don't think we really need it. You know, if I thought, I have nothing against him personally. I spoke to him briefly. You know, you got freaking CVS there. They got everything under the sun. And if somebody wants a drink, they can go next door to Saville or my restaurant, Del Contadino. They can have a drink there and they can go home. I don't see the need. I don't see the need for a liquor store so small. What is that gonna do? You know, so I'm against it just because of that. I think more like a retail type business that will service the community, like an alteration shop or something that people need would be better suited for that location than a liquor store that attracts. I'm not a drinker. I have nothing against people that drink. We don't need them. We already got them. CVS got it. They can go to CVS, and whatever CVS does have, they can click the button, and Amazon is going to send it to the house. Have a nice
Right.
day.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else from the public? And Mr. Crush, before you rebut, I'm actually going to ask the board if they have any questions so that you can come back up.
I didn't know if we could have staff clarify or answer the question from the first person who asked about.
Distance?
No, about the ability for the liquor store to start serving alcohol. I mean, I know they can't, but I'd like to hear
To
the
have a lounge.
actual reason.
Right, to have a lounge. Mohammed, did you hear the question?
I'm trying to understand what the question is.
So the first speaker asked the question, what would prevent, if we let this liquor store move in here with the retail liquor sales license, what would prevent them from opening up a lounge, just like we have many liquor store lounges in town?
I mean, at this time, without going through the details, it's very hard to answer that question. If they comply with all the requirements, we cannot hold them. That's what I can say, you know, but at this time, without looking at, you know, what is the ratio, what was there, how much square footage, what would the state allow, you know, there are so many different aspects we have to look at before, you know, and here to give an answer on that.
I understand. Okay, any more questions?
And
No.
and in that zoning, cocktail lounges and nightclubs are allowed. Just Bert showed me, just that looking at the table. And again, you know, the parking is into factor. There is a lot of factors involved. I'm not saying we are going to approve it,
Okay, but I think your comment is it's allowed by zoning, but they'd have to go through site plan review process,
and, you know,
license review process, parking process. Got it. Okay. Any other questions from the board? In that case, I will hand the floor back to Mr. Crush.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me now? Yeah, and I think to add on to that is we know special exceptions are specific to the use, so if they were to convert to a lounge, they'd have to come back and ask for another special exception. This is proposed as a liquor store. It will have whiskey tasting in some events, and I believe that we meet all the criteria as set forth in Section 5-26. We respectfully ask that you approve this special exception. I understand that there may be a perceived parking problem in the area. That's outside the scope of this application. That is all public city parking. When the city took that land and turned it into metered and free parking up there. I think this is a liquor store. It was office use before. It's going to a retail use. I don't think there's going to be that great of a parking impact.
Very
And I'm
good.
here for
Thank
any
you.
questions.
Any more questions from the board? In that case, I will wait for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve case number PLN BOA 210500002, because it has met the requirements for the special exception.
Thank you very much. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
There is a motion and a second. Any further comments before we call the roll? In that case, Bridget?
Yes, sir. Mr. Elfman,
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. McGinley,
Yes?
Mr. Lambrechts,
Yes.
Vice Chair McTeague,
Yes.
Ms. Ellis,
Yes.
Chair Nelson.
Yes.
Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Okay, sorry for the glasses on, glasses off. In a little bit of a focal length problem. Our next case is PLN Board of Adjustment 210-50003, NT Properties, and who here is representing NT Properties? Sir, if you can state your name, your address, and your relationship to the property or its ownership.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Salvatore Caccia. I'm the owner of La Bottega Cafe.
I'm sorry to stop you. I'm a little disconnected tonight. Let me do disclosures first.
None. Blaise McGinley, none.
Site visit?
None.
Let's see, none.
Doug Reynolds, none.
None.
Michael Lambrechts, none.
Very good. I'm sorry to interrupt your presentation, sir. If you could start again.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Salvatore Caccia. I'm the owner of La Bottega Cafe. I'm asking your permission to serve beer and wine in my coffee shop. It's a primary coffee shop with a little food, but I see some customers when they come at 4 o'clock, they have like a little dessert or sandwich, and they want to have a beer or wine. That would help me a lot if I can get the wine and beer license.
Okay. Well, you'll have to get the license from alcohol and tobacco, but we can hopefully give you a zoning special exception. The distance, can you tell us what the close businesses
86
are?
feet. 86 feet from Rainbow Room.
86 feet from, I'm sorry, where?
Rainbow Room.
Very good. Thank you. Anybody from the, does that conclude your presentation, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody from the public who would like to speak on this item? Come on back up. Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'm going to grab a cookie while you're doing that.
With me, they don't like me, only they voted against me. But 2769, 2775. The gentleman is right next to us. He's next to the Rainbow Palace in the corner.
I'm sorry.
In his case,
Sir, you need to state your name for the record again,
my
please.
name, first name Raphael, last name Sofer.
Thank you.
Sofer. Okay, the gentleman, he has a huge parking lot in the back. A huge parking lot in the back of his place. This is the type of business that it's good for the neighborhood because he's got a small niche there, you know, and it's a different ball game. He's only applying for buying, beer and wine, correct? Beer and wine. Yeah, so that's something we need around there, you know. It's good for the environment. It has huge parking lot. He's going to be sharing the parking lot with Rainbow Palace, which is my neighbor. So I don't see why you should not allow him. You know, it's just guy just immigrated from Italy, and
Very good.
give him a
Thank you very
give him a
much.
chance to run a business. Eh?
Thank you. Anybody else from the public who would like to speak on this? Yes, ma'am.
Just as a note, in doing the site visit, the sign was not posted. So I would advise you, it was laying on the ground. So you need to be sure that the notice remains posted during the duration of 30 days.
And can we confirm that he has a complete package? I mean, just for the administrative aspect of it, like, I mean, as long as
I'll
staff
defer to
is,
staff.
yeah. Well, if it's all there, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that he you know, it just looked a little thin.
Yeah, just,
Okay.
I think we all have the same package.
Any other questions from
Yeah.
staff? Sir, you might want to come up so you can answer questions. Any other questions from the board? No? Mr. Elfman, you're awfully quiet.
I-
Just checking.
I just would like to say, I go there every morning at 9 o'clock, and I pick it up the sign, and I bring it up every morning.
I may have just been there at that one time when it was down on the ground. It was just a notice to you that the code requires that it be showing for the 30 days. I was just giving you a heads up on it.
Every
if
morning,
there-
though, I did. I don't know, maybe at 10 o'clock, but every morning I put the sign over there.
If there are no more questions from the board and no members of the public who wish to speak, I'll wait for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve case number PLN BOA 21050003 as it has met the requirements for a special exception.
Second?
I've got a motion and a second. Bridget, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Lambrechts?
Yes.
Vice Chair McTeague?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Elfman?
Yes.
Chair Nelson?
Yes,
Thank you.
please. Let me call our last case for the night. PLN Board of Adjustment 21050004, Beverly Heights Townhouse LLC. And who represents, is that Mr. Spear? Are you there?
Yes, yes, sir.
Very good. If you
Jeff
can
Spear,
state your-
3921 Southwest 47th Avenue, Suite 1013, Fort Lauderdale.
And who's that distinguished architect standing next to you?
That is the architect, yes.
Hey,
I'm
Gus.
sure you know him.
You bring some power with you. Just saying.
I didn't know he was coming. We're requesting a variance from the 6'6" dimensional requirements for fence height. We are of a difference of an additional 1'6". Part of our DRC approval approved us for a 6-foot fence in the rear yards of these are townhouses. And
Hey, give me 1 second. If you guys could please keep it down, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
these are townhouses, and that's what we want to build, but we want the 6-foot fence to be from the existing grade on our yards. The issue is the adjacent properties are much older, and some of the places are lower.
Oh,
So-
believe me, we're very, very familiar with this issue.
Yes.
Okay, so, and that's the gist of it. We have, obviously, all the owners got notice. There's, I have three letters from adjacent property owners of no objection. All three that are on the north side of our property that front on Broward Boulevard. And tried to reach one of the other property owners, and the fifth one I wasn't able to contact. But I'll take any questions, and I guess I should reserve comments.
And if you could, I've got one question, actually.
Yeah, sure.
The height variance on the fence is for side yard, rear yard, what?
Rear yards.
Rear yard. And what is on,
Oh,
is it,
And there is one area that's along a road, the driveway, that is not a yard at all.
okay. And staff,
And
where
there's- I'm
are
sorry,
we
and
on
there's-
the potential code change that addresses this?
And there's one, I'm sorry, there's one fence area that is a side yard. An interior area of the site.
Got it.
Chair, I had a discussion with our director, Mr. Fajardo, this morning, and I anticipated board asking me this question. It is being written because the commission wanted to add some extra things in that, so they're expecting in July to go to PC, and maybe September, October, go before the commission.
So feel like waiting
After
till
the break.
November for your fence?
Well, no, we're hopefully finishing this first building in 2 months.
I hear you. My question wasn't not pointed. Sir, does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, sir. Reserve comment if.
Any members of the public who would like to speak? Yes, Bridget. No, of course. So sorry. Let me stop before we move further and let you speak, sir, and let's do disclosures.
Blaise McGinley, none.
Site visit?
None?
Site visit?
Doug Reynolds, none.
Howard Elfman, none.
Mike Lambrecht's none.
Thank you for reminding me, Bridget. Sir? If you could state your name, your address, and your relationship to the property?
My name is Jack Jackentel. I'm at 20 Southeast 10th Avenue. So I believe that my property is the one that would actually be most affected because it is to the north and to the east. So my backyard and my side yard. My question is, I already have an existing fence on my property line that is 6 feet, I guess. I don't understand are we going to put a fence on a fence, face to face, one being 2 feet higher, a foot and a half higher, pressed against my fence on the property line? I'm just confused of what this is going to aesthetically look like.
Great question, and I bet you're going to get an answer in about 2 seconds.
And I will say this, I don't have a lot of confidence because of just some of the conditions I've dealt with. I mean, it's literally next door to me, and we've had a lot of debris and things like that. So I normally wouldn't even attend this, but one, I have a real concern of aesthetically what it's going to look like, and I have a little bit of confidence issue, and I've not met the builder, but I have been out there with the general contractor and so on, saying, let's clean this mess up and so on. So if you guys could answer that, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, the fence he's referring to is along the driveway that I mentioned and the side yard. I believe that's our fence, and what we would do is take that down. It's an old wooden fence. We would take that down and replace it with a brand-new PVC fence that would be approximately, I believe in the case of his lot, about the same height as the existing fence.
I'm gonna make a suggestion because I'm getting a little elderly and my ability to not take bathroom breaks frequently is getting compromised. I'm gonna suggest we take a couple of minute break, like a 5-minute break, and why don't you guys talk about what that fence is gonna look like between the two properties?
So you can probably take down the crushed presentation of Jason's name with the Jack Daniels.
I think that's the seal. Board of Adjustments.
Yeah, I'm amazed. I'm really amazed. So? You ever seen anything like this? I mean, remember in 2008, but everybody was flipping.
Yes.
That was a different experience.
Yes, and that's why there's more validity here. First of all, interest rates are. Welcome. Welcome aboard.
No, I can't have those cookies for not
Where is it?
Yeah, because I will make this, I can assure you.
Are you seeing that? I'm seeing one. I'm really amazed. Russians in there.
Wait a minute, is he allowed up here? Is he allowed up here?
Incredible. I mean, they have whole communities down there, and it's almost like they all block.
God help us all.
It hasn't really tracked over to Broward, but I mean, if you go down to Sunny Isles Cemetery, you go to the restaurants, you'll hear people talking Russian. Go to Publix. Very interesting. But you know, we're talking about people moving here from Newport. But the problem is, I have a house. I can sell high, but where am I going? I mean, now am I going to pay high? You know, there is cheap money. I sold my house a year ago. Bought it for strike that.
That's fine, I get that.
A new house a year ago.
Yeah,
Kept my old house.
I get a lot of scares. I mean, just being as beautiful as I am, it's
And
like,
the saying is,
I mean, it's like really, it's a burden, really.
I hadn't bought the house a year ago. Because then I like, well, you paying 50% more, really, it's hard. And for realtors, all they tell me is there's no inventory. Getting the listings, everything. Because they already have people who say they're following it. But when does it kind of plateau? Huh? It's just the market. And it's not here, it's throughout the country. Excess. So what's going on with real estate prices in New York? What about commercial properties? What's the occupancy rate downtown here? I mean, we had people at our firm approach us with crazy offers, to move offices. And that's in the last 6 months. Do you think all the stuff that's online and the building permits they're gonna go forward with them? Apparently, there's 34 towers planned for downtown in the pipeline. I read an article in the Sun Sentinel that said there were 34 projects, and they could be residential too, but downtown, whatever you define downtown as, that were in the pipeline. And I'm thinking,
Mr. Malik?
Yeah, Chair, I would rather clarify with the architect. He's there for the record, Gus, because the board members have some questions about where this fence is exactly located.
Good evening, board members. Gus Carbonell, 1457 Northeast 4th Avenue. I apologize for not having graphics. I thought they would come out on the screen since I haven't been before you for a while. Now, this property, in short, is a lot that goes from 10th Avenue through to 11th Avenue. And it's L-shaped, and there will be 3 buildings on it. Along the streets right away, the fencing is not being modified. Actually, through the DRC process, we agreed that we'd only have a 5-foot fence, open picket, see-through. These units, by having a middle driveway, the units' rear yards, which are very small, face the neighbors to the north, which are all commercial properties, parking lots, so they have no objection. And then to the south, we do have some residential properties, and we have one of the neighbors here. A few years ago, I happened to have designed his home, which is a beautiful project as well. And it's very lushly landscaped. So he has a 6-foot wood fence around his property and a lot of landscaping. Part of the discussion was that he'd like us to respect as much as possible any of the mature landscaping that he has to. And I believe that our taller fence is going to not only provide privacy to our residents, but also to his pool that happens to be in the area of concern. He has a pool that's abutting our property.
So, Gus,
So
I
it
just,
basically, it's 90% is side yards, and maybe there's because it's an L-shaped lot, one short piece is considered a rear yard.
Gina, did you have a
Yeah.
specific question?
just, Gus, just to be sure that I
Yeah, I
understand the relationship to this gentleman's
I'm going
property.
to, the staff's going to be able to prepare the old Elmo, I guess, to.
If I could just clarify one thing I said, the fence that he's referring to is on his yard, is his fence, it's not on ours. So we would either, at his decision, we would either remove his, put our fence on our side, or we would just put our fence up against his if he wanted to keep his.
So my question was, is that your side yard or your backyard? It is both. And so there's a setback associated with a side yard, I believe, is there not, Gus? There's not?
It's not street side,
Okay.
it's just a side,
Got it.
because
Other
there are other
side.
properties.
Okay, that was my question.
Right, so I want to make sure, because what I would like to do is offer as to what the resolution on the fence between the adjoining properties is, records of.
What did he say?
Chair, I have a message from another neighbor. When you give me a chance, I want to just put it on the record.
Wait, Gus, give me 1 second. Go ahead.
Take your time.
This message is from Mr. Trevor Underwood. I had a phone conversation on Thursday, June 3rd, 2021. Mr. Underwood, who resides at 18 Southeast 10th Avenue. He is the neighbor to this property. He wanted me to convey this message that his tree and fence must not be damaged. So I asked him to come to send me an email. He didn't want it to. I asked him to come and speak here. He said, no, he's not going to. He wanted me to just convey the message. So I'm conveying the message. Thank you.
Tree and fence not be damaged.
Yes.
Chair? Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Nelson? Sheila. Stephanie has some in-person meeting that Mr. Spear just submitted that we would like to hand over to the board as well for you
Okay.
guys to review. In addition, there was an email that he sent while in meeting, but we could not print it out for him. It was submitted about 10 minutes.
Yeah, we went it on.
Pardon me, for the record, the document that was submitted is what again?
I'm sorry?
The document submitted is,
Looked like 2 letters in support.
He submitted an open
Of
meeting.
the project from my former
Michael.
vet, Dr. Cox.
They have this in the
And
packet.
from Schneer and Kaplan.
All I need is.
For the current project?
Can we avoid that?
Correct.
Unless they ask?
Okay.
Okay.
What? Brandon? From Brandon.
Okay, Shaquila, you need to, once they're done, you need to read the email for the record.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it. Yeah.
Why don't we pass it for, and then we'll submit it into the record.
Have it already on their.
You guys want to see it?
You want to see it? No, we're good.
This be put on there instead?
Physical activity that I've gotten
It's good for you.
6 months of board meetings.
Yeah, I guess Lee, I should put my eyes on it.
All right, so, and I'm sorry, as we're looking at these, my suggestion was that if you guys have reached an agreement with, as to how to resolve the fence height difference between those properties, that you proffered into the record.
I believe we are going to leave his fence and respect that and put our fence next to it. That's,
Is that your understanding?
So, yeah, Mr. Underwood we share that property. He's in his late 70s, hasn't left the house since COVID, so I did meet with him. I would be semi-open-minded to the new fence. The problem is he won't, absolutely not. So it now just becomes what that looks like, 2 fences butted up together. How much space between them?
I had hoped they'd reached an agreement. I just want to make sure that we can record it. Why don't you come up to the mic, sir?
Sure.
He wants his fence.
All right, so as I understand it, the proffer is you are either going to leave his fence alone and build a fence on your side without damaging his tree or fence, or if you reach an agreement, you will replace his fence without damaging his tree and put your higher fence in. Is that correct?
Correct. I don't think we're open to removing the fence only because the other property owner wants to, no discussion, which is who sent the email.
Didn't have that chat all on your own afterwards?
Correct.
You're covered in the variance should it.
We are not opposed to the fence face to face and it being almost 2 feet. You know, I think it'll be beneficial for us as well. So I'm all right with that.
All right. Any more, or are you done with your presentation, sir?
no, not unless there's some questions.
Okay, well, let me close the public hearing. Any questions from the board?
Oh, board
Chair,
Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
we
Yes,
have
sir.
an email from the
we
neighbor. She's
received
going to
an
read it.
email from Mr. Spear. I'm gonna read it. It states, we understand that the property owner adjacent to us, Beverly Heights THLLC, has requested the following variance from the city of Fort Lauderdale. A variance from the 6-foot 6-inch dimensional requirements for height max measured from grade according to section 47-2.2G for fence/wall in residential zoning districts as provided in table 1 of section 47-19.5, fences, walls, and hedges, to allow an 8-foot height privacy fence, a total deviation in height of 1 foot 6 inches. For the record, we have no objection to the request made by Beverly Heights THLLC, and this was sent by Mr. Ian J. Norris, CIC.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, now I am actually going to close the public hearing. Any questions from the board? None. Gina?
So did you obtain anything from the homeowners association, Beverly Heights Homeowners Association? Were they advised?
No, ma'am. They were, I mean, the notice was posted on both streets and we were open to calls. I've been in constant contact with the association over the last few years and they know how to reach me and nobody has
Yeah, but they didn't
come
give you a
forward.
letter of support. They didn't comment.
I didn't ask them. I asked the adjacent property owners. I
Okay.
could not reach Mr. Jackentel. I reached the 3 along Broward Boulevard. They've all written letters of no objection. She read one of them. We got the other 2 from Mr. Rabbi Kaplan of the preschool, the DJCC, and from Dr. Cox the veterinary hospital, we've been in touch. We've been in touch with everybody. We try to, and I've been, the president of the association we've talked many times. She knows how to get a hold of me.
Questions, gentlemen? Questions? In that case, I will await a motion. Not a motion, not emotion.
Should we, so there's no proffer to add to the motion, right? I mean, nothing was.
Well, they made a proffer into the record. If you can recite it, right? If not, I will help you.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to recite that.
They proffered that they were either going to replace that fence if they wanted, or they would build it behind it if they did not want their fence removed.
Does this ask?
Behind it, meaning?
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's not necessary, right?
He's just proposed that their fence be put in and.
Right, it has nothing to do with the variance.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the variance.
Right,
So why put it in the proffer? Why put it in the motion?
because it's the only way to guarantee that it happens, which was what the neighbor's concern was. Which is why we did it as a proffer as opposed to a condition.
Gotcha.
Because, of course, we wouldn't condition a variance that way.
I would like to make a motion to approve case number PLN BOA 210500004, including the proffer from the applicant
To either replace.
to either replace or build their fence directly behind the existing fence on the applicant's side.
On lots 18 and 20, right? Got it.
If we can clarify, replace the existing fence?
Yeah, one of the proffers was to replace the existing fence with the approval of the adjacent property owner.
Thank you.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a
Second.
second? I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion by the board? If none, Bridget, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chair?
That's for you.
Chair,
Yes.
I have a question just because, I have to finally implement it on the floor out there. So just to clarify, with the permission of the neighbor, they have to replace the fence, or with the permission of the neighbor, they have to remove the old fence from the neighbor?
If they wish to remove the old fence, then they will need to get the approval of the neighbor.
Okay. Okay, just for my clarification. Thank you.
Mr. Lambrechts?
Yes.
Sorry, wrong pen. Vice Chair McTeague?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Elfman?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds?
No.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes?
Chair?
Yes.
Nelson? Thank you.
Passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and nice to see you after the pandemic is almost over. Miss you.
Actually, good to see you, like actually physically in person. All right, before we clear out of here and you guys start throwing stuff at each other, any communication to the city committee?
You want to say?
Not hearing any. Anything for good of the city?
Chair, under good of the city, you have your annual election of chair and vice chair.
Ah. Well, in that case, I will scoot back in my chair and wait.
So, Mr. Chair, I have a motion.
Nominations, or if we'll just be ruled by anarchy.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion
Yes.
that the existing chair and vice chair remain for 1 year.
But only 1 year.
I did not say that. I didn't ask for an amendment. I say that only because for the past year, it's been tough meetings, and I think that the chair and the vice chair deserve the opportunity to serve in person.
I've got a motion. Is there
Second?
that motion?
Second?
Any other nominations? You willing to serve another year as vice chair?
Happily.
All right. In that case, we've only got one nominee, but we might as well do the Democratic thing. Reggie, will you call the roll?
Ms. Ellis? Yes. Mr. Elfman?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Lambrechts?
Yes.
Vice Chair McTee?
Yes.
And Chair Nelson?
Mr. Nelson couldn't be found.
Mr.
for the-
Chair?
Yeah, yes.
Thank you. That's unanimous.
Thank you, fellow board members.
And
And
is there a
staff.
motion to adjourn? We are adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
is.
Thank you for the sandwiches and everything.
Yeah.
I completely missed this.
Well, they're still there.